Prime Minister, typically, so when we do these GDP interviews, we're usually talking to the Chancellor, but we're very privileged. You've stepped in at the last minute. Why is it that you want to be here talking to us today?
Well, undoubtedly, the economy, the country's been through a tough couple of years with the war in Ukraine most recently, the pandemic before that, and I know that's taken a toll on people, and that's why ensuring a strong economy has been paramount in what I want to achieve for the country. And I am pleased that whilst, of course, there's more work to do, today's figures show that the economy now has real momentum, and I'm confident that with time people will start to feel the benefits of that. I mean, we've had multiple months now where wages are rising, energy bills have fallen, mortgage rates are down from the peak, taxes are being cut, and as I said, today's news just shows that the economy does have real momentum, more work to do, but I'm pleased with the progress that we're making.
Now, you're here doing this interview with economics editors. I know you're a data geek like I am, so can I just do a quick fire, a few data points? So what's GDP up by today? It's 0.6, isn't it? Do you know GDP per head and how much that's gone up by?
Yeah, I think it's 0.4 as I thought about it. But
okay,
Ed, before we get into the stats,
quick fire.
Before we get into this, because most people rightly will say, what do I do with that 0.6? What does that mean to me as a person? I don't know what that means. Well, let's put it in a perspective that I think will actually help people understand what's going on. That's the joint fastest growth anywhere in the G7 in the first quarter of this year. So compared to our big economies that we compete with, the US, Japan, France, Germany, Italy, etc., we have the joint fastest growth in the G7 at the beginning of this year. So I think what actually people will understand it in their lives is, well, what's happening to my wages? What's happening to my job security? What's happening to my pay packet at the end of every month? I think actually those are the numbers that people will understand this through. And actually, we can talk through that because that's meaningful. Wages have now been rising faster than prices for 9 months. Taxes are being cut by around £900 for an average worker. And if you put all of that together, with a typical wage growth, someone on an average salary of £35,000, they are going to now have about £140 extra in their bank account from their payslip every month. £140 every month. And again, that will take time for people to really feel the benefit of that, but that's what I think is the best way to describe what it means.
This quick fire round is not very quick at all. Since you became Prime Minister, how much has GDP gone up?
Well, again, look, I took over this job, GDP was protected to 4.
But do you know the answer? Just first of all, do you know the answer? Well, since you became Prime Minister?
Well, since I became Prime Minister, GDP last year it grew, and this year it's grown again.
It's up by I think 0.1%, last year. But since you became PM...
it was, well, if you want to do the data, let's do the data. When I took the job, it was predicted to fall by 1.5%. It was predicted to fall. That was what was predicted to happen last year. And not just that we defied those predictions, we actually grew last year. So actually, that's the reality of what happened last year. But again, we can spend most of this interview going on about 0.1 here, 0.6 there.
No, but you're a data geek, and we do like talking about these things.
Yeah, we do, but look, we've got to talk about it in a way that people watching the show will understand, right? And I think actually what people will understand is, hang on, I'm working really hard, right? Things have been really tough for the last couple of years. I've seen inflation, the price of everything going up, my energy bill skyrocketing, had a pandemic, then a war, and what's happening now, I think, is showing that actually we have some momentum. We've turned a corner, and the way people will feel that is in their pay packets. Every month, as I said, for an average worker, this year versus last year, they're going to feel about £140 extra in their pay packet at the end of every month. And I think that is, look, a sign of momentum.
But the critical thing is that, so GDP per head, which is, as you said, that's a really good measure of just how well off people are feeling. That's still down by 0.9% since you became PM. Okay, so it's up a bit this latest quarter, but it's down a lot since you became PM. I suppose the question people are going to ask themselves when it comes to this election is, do they feel better off than when you came into office? And based on these numbers, yes, things are improving now, but they're not actually better off than when you came into office. That's fair, isn't it?
Well, when I came into office, inflation was at 11%. And I think the important thing, as you will know, because you comment on these things globally, is that we're not alone in having experienced a shock to energy bills, inflation of those levels. But what I can point to is, hang on, when I came into office, inflation was at 11%. The economy was predicted to shrink by 1.5%. And where are we now? Inflation is down to 3%. The Bank of England governor says that he expects it to fall back to target in the next couple of months. We've seen mortgage rates come off the peak. We've seen the economy in this quarter outperform, again, all expectations. The joint highest growth in the G7. We've seen wages rise for 9 months in a row. Now, look, I know that there is more work to do. I know there is more work to do, but I am confident that the economy is getting healthier every week and people will start to feel the benefit of that. And as I said, what I can do is deliver on the plans I set out, improve things from where I inherited them, and make sure that people feel better off. And that's what I'm delivering.
Final question, Prime Minister. I guess a lot of this, part of the reason you're here, I guess, is because you're hoping when it comes to the election, it's going to be, it's the economy, stupid. People will look at how the economy is doing, they'll look at inflation, all of these different things, and take their decision based on that. But is there a part of you that worries that actually it's not really all about the economy and that slightly stronger growth, lower inflation, that they're not going to be quite enough for you, and fundamentally it's actually that people have kind of just had enough of your party?
Well, I think a strong economy is the foundation of everything that we want to achieve as a country. We want to invest more in our public services like the NHS. We need a strong economy to do that. If we want to be able to cut taxes so people's hard work is rewarded, so that they want to put the effort in and will have more of their own money to spend on the things they care about, we need the economy to grow. And that's why I focus on it, because I want people to feel more secure. And actually, today's figures show that we're heading in the right direction, and now we have some momentum about it.
Do you think it's enough, really?
So look, that will be a question for the voters to decide, but I do think a strong economy is the foundation of everything that we want to achieve. People's financial security is incredibly important to them, particularly after the challenges of the last few years. And what I need to do is demonstrate to people that the plans we've put in place are working. And we haven't got to this point by accident. Right? Like, these things happen because we had a plan, we stuck to a plan, which, by the way, the Labour Party opposed at every turn. And I want people to now to start to feel the benefits of it, which I'm confident they will do.
And have a say about it.
And I know that there is more work to do. Of course I know.
And when's that election coming?
Well, of course I know there's more work to do. I've been consistent on that since right at the beginning of this year, when I said my working assumption was that we'd have an election in the second half of the year. But the crucial thing is the choice at that election. And I think what people will be able to see is that here's someone who came in who we can trust with the economy. I got the country through the pandemic. People saw how I did that. And we've had a difficult time since then. But I've come in again. We've got inflation down, wages rising, taxes are being cut. And month by month, I'm confident that people will start to feel the benefit of that. And that is what I'm determined to deliver, that peace of mind and that sense of security.